Alright, so I'm going to do a quick intro to Kafka and see how this works. So I'm just getting started with Kafka. Kafka is a message log streaming service. It's often used as an alternative to a message queue, although it's not quite a message queue or PubSub. It has some different features that I altogether don't understand. But what I want to do is go into just the basics of using Kafka and a little bit about it. And I'll go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and stop the music. And first thing we got to do is let's get rid of our bumper music and go to Kafka. So Apache Kafka, it's an open source project. And let's just go ahead and click download Kafka. So 3.1 is the latest version. I think 2.8 is probably the most common version. Grab the Scala 2.13 version, and eventually we'll find a download link here. All right, and we'll just we'll save it to desktop. And I don't know what that fake people. Oh yeah, that fake people. I found some AI that generates. I guess based on some composite images, generates fake pictures of people. In other words, it looks like a real person because it's taking composite data and twisting the eyes and the hair color and stuff. Someone was talking about using that to create a fake list of like a fake company with fake employees and CTO and CEO and stuff like that. That looks like real people that can't be traced. Anyway, that's what that fake people folder was. So intro to Kafka. We want to we want to move that download to our from our desktop. What is it? Apache Kafka? No, Kafka. We'll move it into our folder here and unzip it. All right, that unloads all that. And I don't even know if I'm going to use it this way. I mean, I could use like brew install or apt-get install. I'm on Ubuntu Linux here, or Linux Mint. But anyway, let's go ahead and just now this says 2.13. Oh, 2.13 to 3.1. Okay, CD Kafka, whatever. And so Kafka has you can publish or subscribe, or rather you can be a producer or a consumer of Kafka. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a producer and we're going to create a consumer. And I think it's in the bin folder, right? So bin. So we've got this Kafka consumer, Kafka console consumer, and Kafka console producer. So what I'm going to do right off the bat, I'm just going to launch the console producer, and it's going to take input from standard input, and it's going to push it onto a Kafka topic or log or whatever. And the Kafka consumer receives those. Now the difference between, well, one difference between Kafka and a message queue is that messages sent to a topic in Kafka are persisted. They're actually just persisted on disk. There's no fancy memory, no caching, no paging through memory. It just writes to disk, and Kafka's philosophy is disk I/O is a known problem. Operating systems, for the most part, are good at caching disk I/O. Having trouble saying disk today. Anyway, and so it's an append-only log that writes to a file. It allows the operating system to handle caching that file, and so a producer appends records to log. Each message is like a log entry, and the consumer listens to that log. So each message that's in the log comes to the consumer, and the consumer can say, I want message with offset 1 or 10 or 10,000 or whatever it is. And it starts consuming messages at that offset. You can also offset by timestamp as well, but that's actually slower than just using an index, because it has to parse to get that timestamp, parse the file a time or something like that, or m time, or whatever it's using. I don't know. But let's go ahead and start off. It's going to look like a simple terminal chat server. So Kafka console producer, I'm going to cd bin, and I'm just going to launch Kafka console. It looks like, okay, it has read execute. All right, I'm switching back and forth between Mac and Linux, so I always forget my keyboard shortcuts. All right, Kafka console producer. Do I need to do bash? Kafka console producer. All right, and then I can. Okay, so I need. Let's see. I need a topic. Each topic is going to be one of these logs or one of these queues. It's not really a queue, but it kind of is. And then I also need to. I don't need to specify batch server. I need Kafka to be running. I need to start a Kafka server and specify the bootstrap server, which will be localhost port, whatever port it is, 9029 or something like that. So I need my bootstrap server, and all that. So let's see. Where is my Kafka server? I should probably read about how to do this. Kafka server start.sh. That's step one. Okay, Control Shift C, Control Shift V. There we go. Kafka server start. Oh. Okay. Let's see. We need daemon or server properties. We don't worry about the server properties. Where is our server properties? And do we need to start Zookeeper first? Probably we need to start Zookeeper first. And I'm going to guess this wants a properties file. Let's check out our config if we have like a default. All right, Kafka Zookeeper properties. So here's what we can do: is we can do bin/Zookeeper server start, and then we want config Zookeeper properties. I think that might do it. Oh, good. So it's outputting to our console here this log information. Not the Kafka log, but the log file for Zookeeper starting. Okay, then I need to open another terminal. Now we're getting going pretty good. And then I can do bin/Kafka server start. The way I've done this before is I did it on a Mac with Homebrew, or I used, what is it? I used a GUI tool that can start it as well, and we'll go through that in a minute. Okay, so server start, and then config server properties. Boom. So you start Zookeeper, specifying the Zookeeper properties. You start the Kafka server with the Kafka properties file, and this is just kind of ad hoc running it to experiment. All right, open another terminal. Now I think I can use a producer, right? So bin/Kafka producers. Let's see, Kafka console, right? Kafka console producer.sh, and then now it's going to say I need a topic, right? Missing required options. Oh, bootstrap server. And then I also need a topic. Okay, so I need bootstrap server. And if we go over here, it should say what we're starting on, our port and all that. If I don't find it, I'll just look up the default port. All right, here we go. Oh, 2181. Oh yeah, the 90. or whatever. Okay, so localhost. So here we go. We can specify Bootstrap server as this. Grab that. Bootstrap server is boom. We'll put that, and then we'll do dash dash topic. Yeah, and we'll just call this demo. There we go. So there's my command. I'm calling the Kafka console producer. I'm specifying the Bootstrap server, which is my Kafka server running in this other terminal, localhost 127.0.0.1, port 2181, and I'm choosing a topic. I don't know if I have to create a topic separately or what, or if it can manage without a something ID rack disconnected. All right, something's wrong. There we go. Console, Warren console producer, bootstrap broker, ID rack null, disconnected. Let's go back to rack null, something like that. If at first you don't succeed, cut and paste the log into Google. Doesn't find anything. Try and clear this stuff out. Cloudera is a company that supports Kafka. Okay, create Zookeeper. Kafka topics create. So I've probably got to create a topic, which is what I was wondering. Console create topic. Like I said, I am brand new to Kafka. All right. Getting started. Create topic. Console. Try again. Apache Kafka Quick Start. We should have just read this. All right. Unzip Kafka. CD to Kafka. That looks like what we did. Bin Zookeeper server start. Config Zookeeper properties. We figured that out eventually. Bin Kafka server start. Config server properties. We figured that out too. Bin Kafka topics create. Topic is, here we go. Localhost 9092. I was close. I think I said 9029. And that is the Zookeeper, right? So let's look at Zookeeper. We've got a whole bunch of complaints. It'll be pretty cool when Kafka doesn't depend on Zookeeper. Starting with version 2.8, there's an experimental feature to remove Zookeeper from Kafka, or at least to make it not necessary. Okay, 2181 client address. That's Zookeeper. Session established complete on server localhost. All right, let's go back to that quick start. Maybe I'm starting or I'm connecting to the wrong port. In the meantime, let's create our own topic. Right, we'll call it we'll call our topic demo. Demos, I guess it's going to be. All right, and we want to make a note of that Bootstrap server. All right, topics create, topic Bootstrap server, that's fine. Write some events. So we want to use the console producer topic. We specify our topic, and our Bootstrap server is localhost 9092. So I think 9092 is the Kafka port. 2818 or 2181 is the the Zookeeper. And Kafka uses Zookeeper to keep different nodes of the server in sync, to start stuff up in an organized manner. Anyway, Zookeeper is responsible for initializing Kafka and communicating between different Kafka server nodes. So let's see. Okay, we created a topic, and it's called demos. Now we need to go back to our console producer. We need to change our port to 9029. Is that right? And topic is actually demos, just because I typoed. Let's just see what that default port is again. 9092. Nanu. All right. Okay. It looks like our producer started. And okay, and now I can type something, right? I can type hello, and it doesn't do anything. What it does is it's actually writing hello to a file, and somewhere in our server properties it tells us what that file is. But we can probably find it without too much work. I'm guessing it's like a data directory or something. Yeah, so it's just writing to the file. But then we get a consumer. The consumer is going to listen essentially to that file, but it's all over the network and sockets and fancy doodads. I don't know. So anyway, what I want to do is create another tab, and let's look in Kafka. We've got logs, and I'm guessing, I have no idea, I'm guessing under logs we're going to have like the topic demos or something, and it's going to be server log. Nope. Logs libs. So let's go back and the default is temp Kafka logs. We've got Zookeeper, we've got Kafka logs, and there we've got demos-0. So, and then we got the file, right? And if we do 000.log, if I tail this log file, it's binary. I guess that's not too surprising. Making it easier to parse. What does index look like? All right. Okay. I don't know. And then there's time index. So I think this is probably with offset, and this is with timestamp, something like that. And I can see that this log file is small, but this log, this index, and this time index is huge, even though our producer has two messages, an empty string and the text hello. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a consumer, right? bin/Kafka console consumer. And I'm guessing it's going to need to know our Bootstrap server as well, something like that. Bootstrap server, there we go. And we probably need a topic too, I guess. Right? Oops. So it's going to look just like our producer script, or our options are going to look the same. I don't even know where that came from. I just want this. All right, so try this again. Yeah, I guess bin/Kafka console consumer, and then we paste in our Bootstrap server. Again, we're going to localhost port 9092. And our topic that we're listening to is demos. I don't know if a consumer can listen to multiple topics. I imagine it can. And a producer, maybe it can write to multiple topics. I don't know. All right, so now we've got our consumer here, and the consumer doesn't actually do anything. Right? I'm just typing the standard output and it's ignoring that. But my producer, oh, it looks like I killed my producer. That's why we're not getting output. So I'm going to try. Oh, Control K is my clear screen. Is anyone listening? And it puts that out. And okay, you can see here, once I restarted my consumer, it's got this garbage that I typed before, and is anyone listening? The confusing part is that it doesn't have my hello, which is kind of weird. But if I type hello again in my producer window, then it's here in my consumer window, and I can do them side by side to demonstrate this. How do I detach terminal? And there we go. We've got our consumer. We'll detach that too. We'll say goodbye to our server processes, and we'll kind of reformat these. All right, so we've got our producer here and our consumer here. They're living side by side, and let's go ahead and view. Search terminal, reset and clear. Terminal, reset and clear. All right, so this one is my producer on the left. Yeah, left. And then I can say hello, and then you can see after a second or so, it shows up in the consumer. Now, when I type hi in the consumer, it's not reading. The consumer's not reading anything. It's ignoring standard input, but it's also printing the output from the producer. So the producer sends a message to the Kafka server. The Kafka server writes it into the log file for that topic, and as we saw, it's a binary log file, so it's not just writing plain text to a file. And then the consumer actually listens to the Kafka server, and when a change is made, the consumer receives that message. Now I can also, with my consumer, I can rewind the offset and get previous messages or skip ahead to a certain point. By default, I think it just goes whatever the head number is, right, on my index. And that's what it is. So theoretically, and this will be a fun demonstration that I won't do today, but theoretically I'll start a Kafka server somewhere in the cloud. I'll start a producer on one computer, and then I'll start a producer on the other computer, and we'll have a chat server going. That simple. And that just kind of demonstrates how Kafka is writing the messages back and forth. So I think that'll be a good exercise for another day. Right now I just wanted to get something going, show you the quickest way. Download Kafka, unzip it, start Zookeeper, specifying the Zookeeper config file, start the Kafka server with the server properties file, and then you create a topic, you start a producer, specifying the Kafka server you want, the Bootstrap server you want to listen to, or the Bootstrap server you want to connect to, and the topic you want to produce messages to. Same thing with the consumer. Let's go ahead and kill these. And then we can see our producer. We start our producer. We specify the Kafka server that it's running on and the topic we're writing to. We'll kill that off. And same thing for the consumer. We start the consumer specifying the server that we're listening to and the topic on the server that we're listening to. Now, we could go ahead and, we could do something very similar to this that doesn't do anything with Kafka, right? I'm going to kill this. So Here we go. So ignore Kafka, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file of an append only. Well, it's not an append only file, but I'm only going to append to it, and I'm going to work with it. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to cat into file. I'm just going to call it file, right? And now I type hello and all that. And now I'm going to create a write another process. Now instead of cat hello or catting the file, I'm going to tail file. And oops, I need to do tail dash f. All right, and it says hello, right? And then I can say hi again. This is my producer. I'm catting into the file, and my consumer, I'm tailing the file. I do the same thing, right? I say what's up, and it reflects what's up in this other terminal. Kafka does the same thing, but it does a lot more fancier things. Number one, it's not a local file. Number two, it guarantees that it's append only. Number three, it builds an index of all the messages so we can find any message, message 1 or message 1 million. And the consumer can also read from message 1 or the latest message or whatever number. Say the consumer started on message number 200,316. It can then get the next file since the last time it spoke to the server, 200,317 or whatever number that was. And that's the beauty of Kafka, is its underlying simple architecture, but its optimizations for one, being on the network, two, being multi-node, right? You can scale it out, not just a single server where you're writing to a single file. You have these multiple nodes. You have clusters, and you have shards and partitions. I don't know if you have shards, actually. And it can track these logs. It will remove or archive old log files so your file doesn't get too big. Just like you're using a log file writer, and it's going to every day roll over the log, or after every 100 megabytes it rolls over the log and does a log.1, log.2, or whatever. Same thing, Kafka does that. And rather than spending a lot of time trying to optimize, and by optimize also means tweak, because every use case, or there are many different use cases, not every use case is different. You want to tweak the cache, you want to tweak the memory, you want to tweak how much is, or how long it is, or what makes the cache dirty and all that, and optimize accessing these things. Kafka says, wait, we've already got something that is dedicated to doing this. The operating system is good at caching files and keeping things in memory and paging through the memory and all that. And it can, by virtue of it being an append only log, Kafka can act like a queue, right? Every new message or line or whatever written to that log is the message at the bottom of the queue. And the consumer can or the consumers, because you can have multiple consumers and multiple producers, right? The consumers can read that log and consume each file as it comes, or from whatever point the consumer left off on before. It can grab the messages in batches of different batch sizes and so forth. So that's Kafka is cat and tail, but with the network, with a cluster, with partitioning, with a whole bunch of guarantees, and with indexing, and a lot of stuff I don't know about yet. So that's Kafka in a nutshell for today. The same thing, you would write a producer or a consumer in whatever programming language you want, Java, JavaScript, Python, Go, and your application will produce messages or events, and your application or some other application, multiple applications, will consume or read those events or messages and act on them. A primary way for using this is to decouple a service, right? You might have a service or one application that communicates directly with another application. Application A sends a message to application B. Application B does some work, passes it back to application A. Or it could all be being done in some monolithic application. We want to break up the monolithic application to service A and service B, but we don't want service A and service B communicating directly to each other, because you've got to have processes or threads that are waiting for the response or that are doing the work. So you decouple that, you put a third thing in, you put the broker in the middle, which could be a message broker, it could be a message queue, or it could be Kafka, which is more lightweight and hence more scalable in a sense for certain use cases, all of which I don't know. But the idea is that this third party, application A sends a message or emits an event. Application B sees that that event has happened, consumes it, does something, and sends it back and forth. And you can have multiple applications, A1, A2, A2, A3, 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 that are all producing events, and multiple applications, B1, B2, B3, that are consuming some or all of these events from some or all of these topics. And one thing Kafka doesn't do that a message broker does is Kafka doesn't allow you to do a lot of filtering on the server side, right? You subscribe to a topic or to multiple topics in Kafka, and you get the fire hose, you get everything. Your job is to keep track of which events you care about, what your offset is, meaning which you've already consumed, and so forth. And that's the client's responsibility. Whereas a message broker would move things in and out of the queue, and if it has pub sub, it's actually going to notify the subscribers, right? The publishers publish events that get stored on the message queue, and then the message queue in the pub sub style of communication sends messages to the subscribers to say, hey, new message that you want to consume, and it can have complex filters, not just a single topic, but you can filter on a bunch of different things. Kafka says, let's let the producers and consumers take care of that. Our interest is building this scalable queue or log of messages. And I don't know a lot about it, but that's what I understand so far. Go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong.